Hi, in this video I would like to talk about some of my experience of walking through um, my darker self, talking about the darker side of life, of humanity, you might say. Um, what have been common, what have been common for generations upon generations, for eons of time. For eons of time it has been common to suppress and deny for everything that is negative, that is bad, that is wrong, that is evil. Right? Would you agree that it would be natural, like like a habit to suppress and deny for what is negative, what is bad, what is uncomfortable, what is evil, what is spiteful, what is nasty, angry, and so on and so on. One would suppress and deny for the thoughts and the projections and the blame and the judgment and the nastiness of one's own mind living. Now, what we see today, and we'll see more, what I've seen in my own process is that the things that I would suppress and deny for has a consequence that can knock me out. You might call it karma, I call it consequence. Consequence that mathematically strikes back at me, man looking at my mirror. Coming face to face with my own creation, whatever that creation might be. The negative self striking back, which we will see more and more if we don't change our game, we might say, our nature and habit of suppressing and denying for what is uncomfortable, for what is evil, for what is bad sides, negative thoughts, and so on. A good friend of mine recently said that it's easier to see in the dark when there's no light. I think that's a very good statement, meaning that if we use our mind, our consciousness as the light source, the energetic light source it is, it will tell us what to do and where to go instead of our senses, our physicality, our nature, our bodies, our substance, our waters, our blood telling us what is reality, what is the circumstances, where are we at. Instead of using the mind light box or consciousness, the light, the ego, the consciousness as a direction in our living, we can rather choose to have something else, something of our physicality, to see through our eyes, to see through our senses, and from that perspective be guided by the physical, be guided by the flesh, not by desires or fantasy or that sort of thing, but or the physical of self to be the guide, to be the way to be walking, to find that stability, that sense, that awareness, that heaven that lies within us, to be our, that heaven that lies within us to be our um, so within, so without. So that what we carry within, our heaven that we carry within, if we can get to that point, of not carrying anxiety and fear and anger and resentment and judgment and blame and all that. Instead of that, we can carry um, the inner self, the reality, the physical, the physical of self. And to walk through the many layers of nastiness, of evil, of self, the darkness of self. It takes some cool tools to use to do that. I've been walking through quite extensive amount of sabotage, spitefulness, nastiness, evilness, abuse of my mind, of my nature, of my habits, of my addictions. And self-forgiveness is a unique tool to use, and there is no way that I can say clear enough and loud enough what a cool tool it is to develop, to use, to learn to use self-forgiveness. So for me, walking through my good, the bad, and the evil of self, walking through the darkness of myself, have been very, very much an eye-opener. And how I realized that I face today consequence for what I had suppressed and denied within back in the days. So that I had suppressed and denied for all these things, and living in that sort of addiction and abuse, and from that facing consequence today for what I did yesterday, you might say. So for me today, it is the point to equalize myself, to balance myself, to balance me, my physicality, my being and body, and mind, and to balance my mind, my being, and my body to life, to the source, oneness and equality, to bring that balance within me, to equalize myself to oneness and equality with the nature of life. And that is what nature today and everything is showing us, with consequence hitting our faces, and nature, all these things going on, changes in the world, where we face more and more our suppressed and denied consequences and dark sides of self, where we face head on, more or less. And I'm just thankful that I have self-forgiveness to work on myself, to be honest with myself. For fuck's sake, that's some real stuff there. To be honest with myself, and to become my own guide of my living, to master myself, basically master my own energies within, my inner dragon, you might say. So yeah, walking through darkness, dark part of me, all the nastiness, the sabotage, the spitefulness, the blame, judgment, addicting to self-judgment, all these things have taught me a great deal about life, about this existence, about being human, of our origin of life that is of oneness and equality. That is where we are all going back to now, into establishing a good place for all to live on earth, and there's no stopping that. And I can recommend to start learn self-forgiveness in this life while we have the best chance to alter our game, because in the afterlife, our chances of change are more, what shall I say, limited, from what I've heard, and it's in this life we have the best chance to really create a better world for our children than what we were born into ourselves. So, and there's some real challenges, and I welcome you. This video is inspired by Gabrielle Goodrow, Garb, my good friend, to talk about my dark side and talk about how I how I've gotten myself through. What shall I say? Just lots and lots and lots of layers of personalities, of memories, of characters within my mind that I've been working with self-forgiveness to equalize each and every tiny memory, thought, energy, polarity of my mind, of my being. Preventing consequence, you might say. So today it's a bright new day and new chance to learn self-forgiveness. If you haven't tested it out yet and learned and really seen what it can do, for me, it's realizing that I have what I've lived, the reality of that, the truth of that, to be true to myself, to not want to manipulate my memories, but to know that this happened, that happened, this happened, and that happened. And be true to that. Be real to that. To be standing in those memories. And thank myself for standing in those events, those occurrences, those happenings, those memories. Thank myself for standing through it. To stay true to myself and to learn day by day what it means to live a better version of myself. Every day is a new chance. Every day is a lifetime. Every day is a lifetime. And be careful not to judge the darkness, because darkness is only things about myself. Darkness is only things about me that I have not yet discovered yet. You know? And it might be easier to see in the dark by using my physical instead of my light bulb mind consciousness system, which will deceive me into ego and suppression and separation and all that. So this is a snippet from me walking with schizophrenia, and let me know if you have questions. There are some links, you can check it out. Thank you and enjoy!